So this little segment, we want to talk about the organelles that are involved with energy in cells. And so here we're going to start with the mitochondria. And what you need to know, the mitochondria does one thing, and it basically makes ATP. And so what's going to happen is we're going to talk a lot about this for exam 2. But I do want you to be able to know the parts. And so what I want to do real quickly is go through those parts to make sure you understand. So it makes our life easier when we do cellular respiration. First of all, should know animal cells have mitochondria, and so do plants. For some reason, people don't pick up on that. But plants also have mitochondria. Mitochondria is the plural. But they just have fewer of them, but they do have them. They need to make ATP. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the parts. And so in this drawing, what you need to know, there's an outer membrane. Okay, this is a double membrane. So what you need to know, there's an outer membrane and there is an inner membrane. Okay, so life is not hard on that. In between, they have an intermembrane space, INTER. That means between. So there is a space in between the two. All right. And then what happens is on that inner membrane, you actually have these little finger-like projections that actually increase surface area, and those are called cristae. So the whole purpose of those is actually to increase surface area. Now, I will tell you on some standardized tests, if you think the answer is in a membrane and you can't find it, you look for cristae. Sometimes they use that interchangeably, but technically they're not. The other same side of the coin, if you're looking for cristae and you can't find that answer, then you put inner membrane. But the inner membrane is the inner membrane. And if the finger-like projections of the inner membrane are called cristae, and then the very center, the very middle of this would be called the matrix. So they made movies about these. So there you go, matrix is inside. All right, the next one that you need to know is the chloroplast and plastid. Now, I've got two terms up there, and most people are familiar with chloroplast. And that is a organelle that takes light energy and converts it into chemical energy. Well, what I need to know, I need you to know the term plastid also. Plastid is a more general term. It is an organelle that converts light energy into chemical energy. And so the chloroplast is actually a type of plastid. It is a plastid that has chlorophyll inside it. But I want you to realize there's lots of algae that have plastids in them with different pigments inside that also photosynthesize. So that's why you have red algae and brown algae. Those have plastids. They don't necessarily have chloroplasts, but they have a different pigment inside. So chloroplast is a type of plastid. Okay, so again, convert light energy into chemical energy through the process of photosynthesis. And again, I want you to know the parts. So this is also a double membrane. So you have an outer membrane, an inner membrane, and an intermembrane space. And then inside you have all these little stacks. Okay, so what I need you to know is that a single disc here, each one of these little tiny discs is called a thylakoid. A pile of thylakoids together is called a granum. Okay, so need to know those two terms. So again, these are almost interchangeable. So when you're looking for the word thylakoid and you can't find it on a standardized test, you go for granum, vice versa. But the definition of a granum is a stack of thylakoids. So they're not exactly interchangeable. Then the last thing is the mitochondria, the space inside was basically called the matrix. In this one, it's called the stroma. Okay, so I want you to know those parts. Those are going to become extremely important a little bit later when we go over photosynthesis and cellular respiration. And it makes it easier to teach that if you already kind of know the parts. So, and then we have another one that often isn't taught in high school, and it's called a peroxisome. They remove hydrogen atoms from substances, And the reason they're called peroxisomes is one of the products is hydrogen peroxide. They break down fatty acids, detoxify alcohols. I forgot an O in there and spelled wrong, and converts hydrogen peroxides to water to make them less dangerous for the system. And so and the reason I have them in this little section is because they're usually associated with chloroplasts and mitochondria. Basically, some of the dangerous chemicals and things that are being produced through those processes are then shifted into a peroxisome to make them a little less toxic for the cell. And so that's all we have for this one.